Thank you. Thank you very much, honorable members. Let me start by recognizing the chairperson of the session, the Deputy Chair of the National Council of Provinces, Honorable Sylvia Lucas, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Honorable Amos Masondo, Honorable Ministers, Minister Marupeni Ramukhopa Makoti, Minister Stella Ndabeni Abrams, who are here present with us, other ministers that I may not have seen, deputy ministers, honorable premiers, Premier of Gauteng, Honorable Panyaza Lusufi, my leader, Honorable Nomusa Dube, Premier of KZN, Honorable MECs here present. I won't mention you by names, you are too many. Honorable House Chairpersons, Honorable Members of the Council of Provinces. I'm told, Chairperson, we may have representatives from SALGA as well. I do welcome them. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to take part in this three-year planning session of the National Council of Provinces, which is convened under the theme, Delineating Key Priorities for Consolidation and Implementation during the final year of the 6th dispensation. Chairperson, I would like to start by apologizing for not making it on the first day of the strategy session yesterday due to cabinet meeting. This planning session takes place a little less than 18 months away from the 2024 national general elections, which will mark the transition from the 6th to the 7th parliament. As critical institution of our democracy, the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces must guide this process. In doing so, both institutions must ask themselves and answer two interrelated questions. The first one is whether they have, during the last 4 years, provided sufficient oversight and enforced accountability by the executive. In the spirit of a critical and democratic exchange of ideas, which is the hallmark of our democracy, we are all interested in the legislature's answer to this question. I can assure this House of the executive's continued commitment to accountability to you, the representatives of the people. Having been a member of the Gauteng legislature and the premier of the province, I have always appreciated the role of the NCOP as it brings together the three spheres of government throughout the 9 provinces. Our diversity and unity of purpose should continue to fuel our will to cure the nation's problems and challenges. By doing so, we will honor the wisdom, hopes, and aspirations of our founding mothers and fathers when they conceived the National Council of Provinces. The NCOP continued relationship and partnership with the South African local government associations put us in a better proximity to a sustainable developmental local government which commands the capacity to deliver basic services to our people. In this context, Chairperson, I appreciate concerns raised about the need to improve coordination among the three spheres and tiers of government. This is a serious constitutional imperative. Amongst others, the supreme law of the land enjoins all spheres of government and the organs of state answerable to them to cooperate with one another in mutual trust and good faith. The Constitution further directs us to establish structures and institutions to promote and facilitate intergovernmental relations, as well as to provide appropriate mechanisms and procedures to facilitate disputes. We are committed to honor the Constitution and have established the cluster system of governance for this purpose. It seeks to integrate the government's program across departmental responsibilities. Life continuously and continually throws citizens with multiple personal and social challenges. Where it is morally and lawfully required, so must the government's response to be continuous and continual. But it can only do so if it is holistic in its approach, which is what the cluster system seeks to achieve. Chairpersons, this requires coordination throughout the state. It has to be part of the mechanism to achieve our goals, and we will achieve our goals if we also make a critical assessment of our track record in the context of democratic critical exchange of ideas, as I mentioned earlier. So the second question is whether the government has improved the quality of life of the people. These two questions I've just highlighted are about probing the effectiveness of government policy across the three spheres of government. Without exonerating it from its constitutional responsibility, we all know that this is a task far greater than the government, and I will seek to demonstrate in my brief comment on the land question that I'll talk about shortly. But let me share with you the thinking of the executive on the consolidation and implementation of the program in the final year of the sixth administration. Chairperson, in addition to the transformative legislation we have enacted over the years, we are now introducing and prioritizing crucial legislative proposals for the efficient delivery of services that bear on the lives of the people. We will continue to engage the National Council of Provinces, the National House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders for their valuable input on matters of property rights, land ownership, agricultural support, and broad economic development, particularly in rural areas. Chairperson, land ownership is critical to the realization of the goals of economic inclusion, food security, social cohesion, inclusive spatial patterns, and rural development as a whole. For this reason, we must speed up the resolution of unequal and inequitable land ownership patterns in our country. It is a matter of social justice And its resolution will also help us to address other problems such as illegal land occupations. The correct call for the enforcement of bylaws to address land invasions must also be accompanied with measures for spatial transformation to reverse economic apartheid. In this process, we will also have to address a difficult matter, that of unutilized land, unutilized land, some owned by absentee landlords, some of whom are no longer residents in the country. Our social context on the scarcity of residential land, especially in the urban areas, bring this matter into sharp relief. When land is invaded, the government and neighboring property owners bear the brunt of legal, political, and other costs of evicting illegal occupants. The country will have to find a balance between the legal obligation for respect for property on the one hand, and the imperative of social justice on the other. Chairperson, this is partly why I said earlier on that improving the lives of the people is not just government's role alone. To secure a common future for all, government and the private actors should meet at the construction site of a new and inclusive society. Part of our responsibility as the leader of government business in Parliament is to introduce measures to improve the quality of legislation submitted by the executive and to monitor the implementation of the legislative program by Parliament. That is why, Honorable Chairperson, that we now have in the presidency the minister responsible for monitoring and evaluation that will be working very closely with me. We are pleased that Parliament has prioritized key legislative revisions as mandated, amongst others, by the Constitutional Court, particularly the NCOP's role in enacting crucial amendments to the Electoral Act. Working with both houses of Parliament, we will ensure that Parliament does not experience a decline in the processes or processing of key legislations. For example, as of the 3rd of February 2023, Parliament could only process and pass 83 bills. So, honorable members, this is one of the very key aspects of what we are focusing on. There is a serious concern that legislation is taking too long to be processed and therefore can hinder implementation. So we will be looking at measures of how to fast track the processes of legislation, but we are going to have to prioritize. We don't have enough time to do everything. The Constitution stipulates that members of the executive are individually and collectively accountable to Parliament for the exercise of their powers and the performance of their functions. Furthermore, the rules of Parliament provide clear guidelines on the responsibilities of members of Parliament. In this regard, we will continue to utilize mechanisms to monitor executive accountability to Parliament. This includes monitoring and tracking responses to parliamentary questions for reply and ensuring that ministers and deputy ministers appear before portfolio and select committees when required. and further avail themselves to respond to motions and deliver member statements. Honorable Chairperson, the National Council of Provinces remains an important platform to address the needs and aspirations of our communities, especially at local government level. In this regard, we have introduced, as you are aware, the President has introduced the district development model to improve coordination amongst the three spheres. This model will help us rapidly to respond to service delivery challenges. Furthermore, this approach ensures that government drives development and brings resources to resolve the problems of communities in a more coordinated manner. We have already seen the interventions in provinces like Gauteng, where together with the provincial government, the Mpumalanga local municipality, as well as entities of government, have intervened in resolving the water challenges in Mpumalanga, and we commend them for that. We have also anchored our response to the floods disaster in KZN through the implementation of the district development model. Our responsibility will be to ensure effective coordination of all spheres of government to work together to improve the delivery of services at the district level and local level. We will utilize our oversight reports on NCOP provincial visits. I know that, Chairperson, the NCOP does a lot of visits, and look at the reports on those visits, including taking Parliament to the people to respond to issues raised during these oversight visits. Chairperson, in contributing towards the improved coordination, we have committed to the National Assembly that together with the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, we will convene meetings with all district development model champions in all 9 provinces, and further reach out to all distressed municipalities, especially those identified service delivery hotspots. Chairperson, the President has already asked me to visit all service delivery hotspots to intervene to ensure that we resolve the problems in those areas. It is through structured intervention and engagements that we will be able to strengthen our cooperation with all spheres of government. In conclusion, Chairperson, we are committed to engage regularly with provinces through the National Council of Provinces to address governance and service delivery challenges. I therefore wish you well as you continue to plan and strategize on important interventions that will improve the performance of this esteemed institution. Chairperson, I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, DP. The way you address the issues, it seems as if you sent a spy yesterday to listen to all the issues that was raised here. You are so relevant for really what we have been discussing and what we've been identified. I can see the secretary of the NPC is agreeing, because some of the issues that you have raised around the floods, around the issues of water, particularly the issue of coordination, that was of the issues that came out very strongly in our discussions yesterday. And DP, you are so relevant, but we don't have enough time to just give you some accolades. We must just proceed. So we will now then call on the Honorable the Minister in the Presidency responsible for planning, monitoring and evaluation, Honorable Marupini Ramakgopa. And welcome to the NCOP, Minister.
All right. Let me stand here. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson of NCOP, Honorable Sylvia Lucas, who's also our Program Director, Honorable Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Paul Mashatile. Yes, I am. The Chairperson of NCOP, Honorable Amos Masondo, Minister Stella Ndabeni, and Deputy Ministers if they are here, members of the National Assembly and members of the National Council of Provinces, our two premiers here, the Premier of KZN and the Premier of Gauteng, MECs that are here, and I must just mention that I'm specifically happy to see MEC Kinezwi Musenu because we grew up together in the trenches when we were still very young. So it's good to see her here, I must say. Yes, she was my DSG. The members of provincial legislatures that are here present today, commissioners of the National Planning Commission in particular, Dr. Masiteng, government officials and representatives from SALGA, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning. Thank you very much for allowing us to come and share a little bit of our vision and what we believe needs to happen as we move forward in this last year of the MTSF 2019 to 2024, of course, led by the Deputy President and the President of the Republic. As I've already said, we are fast approaching the end of the medium-term strategic framework, a development planning instrument aimed at accelerating the National Development Plan 2030 vision. There's always a confusion about the National Development Plan. People would be saying, but what kind of a plan is this? Without understanding that the NDP is actually a long-term vision that gives us an opportunity to actually think about the South Africa that we want to live in. That is what it's all about. That is why it's so broad and comprehensive, if you'd like to say that. This moment calls for collective monitoring and evaluation from all spheres of government on our ability to meet the 7 priorities as set out by the 6th administration. Equally, this moment calls for a greater interdepartmental coordination between the 3 spheres of government to build an inclusive economy, improve the capabilities of people and the state, promote transformational leadership and partnership, and cultivate a culture of active citizenry. A people-centered approach for planning, budgeting, governance, and social compact provides us with the necessary guidance to ensure that decision-making towards a developmental state must center the development of our people. Honorable members, and in particular, Deputy Chairperson, since the inception of the NDP in 2012, there has been a number of developments through the administrative and technical support of the National Planning Commission. And I'm glad that they were here with you yesterday, the whole day, and I'm sure you really enjoyed their interaction. The second NPC that was appointed in 2015 conducted a number of reviews on the implementation of the NDP thus far with the following observations. The MTSF is too broad, which comprises the ability to, or the inability to adequately align it to the NDP and effectively measure progress with implementation. Secondly, we have observed that there are limitations in focused leadership and institutional capability which hinders strategic support for implementation. We also observed that the barriers to resource mobilization also limit effective implementation of targets. We have also furthermore observed that there is a lack of coordinated social compact on how to tackle poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Lastly, we have observed that the economic concentration and exclusion remains major in structural challenges for the development of South Africa as a whole. Therefore, while the economic growth remains a goal in the NDP, growth alone will not undo the stark economic inequalities and poor economic outcomes for millions of South Africans. Our NDP must prioritize improved livelihoods as the true measurement of meeting developmental targets such as economic growth. We shouldn't only just look at the percentages that we meet, but we must look at the core quality that speaks to the livelihood of the people. Honorable members, the devastating social and economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the underlying socioeconomic and governance fault lines in our society. More than anything, it has emphasized the need to strengthen a comprehensive social protection system to respond to the shocks brought by the pandemic. The past 3 years have highlighted that prioritizing the resilience of our people is critical for the growth and development of our economy. To date, there has been a strong emphasis on the role and reliance on the state to achieve the aspiration and vision of NDP by 2030, which is 7 years to come. While the state remains a critical role player, the COVID-19 pandemic revealed the power of cross-sectoral collaboration in coordinating the country's response to the pandemic. This was demonstrated through the collaboration such as the Solidarity Fund. We have seen how it has been able to assist us to reach some of the places where we couldn't have done so alone in government. It is for this reason that we must amplify our efforts in ensuring the realization of the NDP vision in collaboration across all sectors of society. So government cannot do it alone. We need partnership. To improve across-sectoral collaboration, we must strengthen the coordination and improve functioning of public institutions and professional public servants at the spheres of government. Through improved coordination and alignment across the 3 spheres of government, we will be in a better position to address challenges such as political administrative interference, misaligned budgets, and fragmented planning. The district development plan that the Deputy President has spoken about becomes an important mechanism to improve the developmental targets as set out in the MTSF and the NDP more broadly. To improve the overall coordination of the state, we must ensure we capacitate local government as they remain the first responders in our communities. I'm so glad that Salga is also here. A strengthened local government leads to an improved service delivery of basic services. It also strengthens our social wage and ultimately an improved public trust and confidence in government. Program Director, as we draw to the end of the MTSF 2019 to 2024, I propose the following priorities for the next year, and this includes the concentration on climate change effects, economic infrastructure, and growing of small businesses. And I'm glad that the Minister of Small Business will also be speaking here. Over the past 2 years, climate change has had devastating impacts across parts of our country, including the floods in KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, Gauteng, and Northwest, and of course, the wildfires in Western Cape, amongst many. We can no longer afford to work in silos in trying to address some of these issues that our society is facing. Urgent attention is needed to strengthen intergovernmental planning and coordination to minimize the impact of climate change on livelihoods. Climate change has far-reaching impacts, including a decrease in foreign investment, the paralysis of local economies and markets, reversal of infrastructure development, increased vulnerabilities to public health disasters, and an overall decline in quality of livelihoods. It is important that we operationalize the Presidential Climate Commission's Just Transition Framework as adopted by the Cabinet last year throughout the spheres of government. The framework needs to be embedded in our disaster management strategies where restorative, distributive, and procedural justice is prioritized. We must recognize the threat that climate change has on several sectors and value chains, including mining, agriculture, the automotive industry, and our tourism sector, of course. This also requires collaborative planning with water-intensive industry, given the impact of climate change on our scarce water resource. It is for this reason that a capacitated and coordinated government, particularly local government, becomes imperative in mitigating the impact of climate change, especially on vulnerable groups, including women, youth, people living with disabilities, and of course, and most especially people living in rural communities. Therefore, we look forward to consulting with the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, COGTA, to monitor the state of readiness of local government in disaster management. Deputy President, you'll be happy to know that in our first 100 days, we will definitely be prioritizing this. Honorable members, the call for inclusive and transformative economic development cannot happen in the absence of economic infrastructure. We are faced with mounting pressures as unemployment remains high, the cost of living that continues to rise, stunted growth in local economies, and rolling blackout. Recent reports have indicated that the effect of load shedding has resulted in food prices increase up to 20%. All these factors contribute to an increasing public distrust towards the government and an overall decline in social cohesion. The economic challenges of our country are compounded by former colonialization, of course, which was under apartheid, corruption, and the growing economic tensions at a global level. To date, economic exclusion is done on the basis of race, gender, age, geography, and education level, which contributes to the persistent inequality and poverty rates in our country. To meaningfully address the economic our challenges that we face, our interventions needs policy and regulatory framework to redirect investment to SMMEs, of course, township rural economies, and also to just promote economic participation in general. To achieve this, greater coordination is required from all spheres of government to improve the economic infrastructure of our country, focusing on uninterrupted power and water supplies, decent roads, access to water, digital technology, and transport system that works. We're actually very excited to see that a lot has been done and changes can be felt in terms of the electricity shortage that we used to have. So we must say that indeed something is happening, but we should continue to monitor and evaluate the performance thereof so that we can then now be able to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Economic reform cannot be carried out by government alone, as I've already said. We need a greater accountability from the private sector as well to address economic challenges through investment. We recognize that as a government, we have the responsibility to improve investor confidence through the availability of economic infrastructure to accelerate investment from private sector. We urge the National Council of Provinces to exercise this constitutional mandate of oversight to ensure thorough planning and budgeting is in line with developmental targets, including infrastructure development of provincial and local government. We cannot celebrate seeing money being taken back to Treasury or given to other provinces, most especially from provinces that need it the most. Program Director and Deputy Chairperson, as mentioned, high levels of unemployment remains a macroeconomic challenge for South Africa. As reflected in the NDP, reducing unemployment is a basic objective. Beyond reducing unemployment, we need to look at integrated strategies to create employment opportunities. The NDP envisages that 90% of employment will come from small businesses and entrepreneurs. As it stands, this sector only forms about 15% of our country's economy in comparison with their peers in other countries, which is almost 90%. So we need to really do something about this and ensure that we probably ramp up the funding and the resourcing of this department, because it is the one thing that would be able to assist us to deal with unemployment and increase the livelihood of our people. In addition, to the economic infrastructure challenges facing all businesses, our SMMEs are at even greater risk of underperforming and ultimately closing down due to a number of factors, including low capital reserve to mitigate infrastructure challenges. In addition, SMMEs are faced with additional burden of navigating excessive red tape simply to start the business. It is important that we understand it from the perspective of the entrepreneur. And I'm thinking, Deputy President, this is for the reason that someone has been appointed in presidency to deal with the issues of red tape. So we hope that next time when we come here, we will be talking about an improved system that speaks to the development of our SMMEs. It is important that we understand it from the perspective of an entrepreneur, as I've already said. The cost of compliance is often too high and technical for the emerging entrepreneurs, which sets them back in comparison to their more established market competitors. As the government, we must understand the capacitation of SMMEs as a lifeline to addressing the concerning unemployment rates in our country, especially amongst the youth and women. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen and members of the House, we must be reminded that the NDP 2030 vision is not for the government alone, but it is a vision for South Africa Pty Limited. It is a vision of everyone, whether you are a school student or you are business, it also covers you. So it is for all of us to be able to ensure that it becomes a reality if we have to realize a South Africa that we want to live in. This should be facilitated through enhanced advocacy, consultation, and dialogues with diverse and representative stakeholders and communities with the goal to promote the broadest ownership of the NDP. Through the support of NCOP, we must have an integrated framework for social cohesion where roles and accountabilities coordinated across different sectors, including provincial and local government, communities and civil society organizations, organized labor and the private sector, of course. We must guard against corruption, institutional instability, and political interference in administration by focusing on transformational and ethical leadership, effective coordination, and promoting citizens' engagement in order to translate public policy and high-level aspiration of the NDP into actual implementation. As we analyze our democratic structure that serves to ensure delivery to all in South Africa, we must remain cognizant that we form part of a global community. It is important that we draw links between the local, provincial, and national governments and our role on the continent and the world broadly. In the words of Peter Drucker, let me open quote, plans are only good intentions unless they immediately degenerate into hard work, I close quote. We have a lot to work ahead of us. And the next year, we have to just make sure that whatever it is, we do it with a coordinated outlook so that whatever it is that we are going to achieve can be seen as an impact and effective tool that makes sure that government and the state in broader form does gain confidence in the society that it leads and the society that it lives in. So let me take this opportunity, Deputy Chairperson, and thank you for this opportunity to just come and talk about the vision of the Department of DPME, and also to hope that the coordination that we are looking for and we are all looking for will also be fast-tracked and anchored from this particular platform. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The one thing that I want to take from your input is the fact that we have to integrate the Vision 2030, the National Development Plan in all sectors of society. That is the most important one, because if the vision doesn't become the vision of South Africa, whose vision is it? Is the only thing that I want to take from your input. Honorable Minister of Small Business Development, a regular guest at the NCOP.
Thank you so much.
Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP. And I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the Chairperson of the NCOP, Ndade Amos Masondo, yourself, Madam Chairperson, the Deputy President of our beautiful country, Ndade Paul Mashadile, Minister Marupini Ramhopa, premiers and emissaries from our various provinces that are present here, honorable members of the NCOP, representatives of SALGA, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is an honor for me to present to you the progress on the work that has been done by the department and further outline our plans for this year to advance service delivery and, of course, uplifting small businesses of our country. Honorable Chair, the global economic context is highly constrained with the COVID-19 after effects. This has been mentioned by the earlier speakers. The general slowing down of the Chinese growth and the Russia-Ukraine conflict has really had a negative impact in our economy. The recent IMF report suggested that 1/3 of countries across the world may fall into recession this year. Our own growth was projected initially at 1.4% for 2023, but has been lowered to 0.4% due to global demand constraints and the recent escalation in load shedding. The global economy remains in a tight monetary policy cycle, which means less investment flows to the developing world. In this context, it is unlikely in the short term that large corporates and foreign direct investment will give us growth and the jobs that we so much need. The role of SMMEs and cooperatives, both in sustaining livelihoods and in driving growth, has never been greater like now. The Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan prioritizes SMMEs and cooperatives and calls on government to review and scale up support for SMMEs and cooperatives, reduce red tape, as Minister Ramhopa has said, reduce red tape and regulatory impediments, and at the center of it, co-create markets through value chain localization, especially integrating townships and rural economies. Honorable Chairperson, we have just completed the country's 3rd national SMME strategy, which we refer to as the NISAT framework, and have developed a high-level implementation plan of game-changer programs around which we are now developing partnerships that bring in resources, capacity, and where possible, in expanded market access. Over the coming 14 months of the 6th administration, the work of the department and our agencies will be structured and coordinated through the following interventions that are implemented in close collaboration with the private sector as well as other spheres of government. And these are the following programs. The SMME Focused Localization Program, which is aimed at reconfiguring supply chains to co-create market opportunities for SMMEs. And of course, Deputy President and ministers present here, we've been focusing more on creating entrepreneurs, and we believe that through the scheme, we'll be able to give an opportunity to entrepreneurs, and it is enabled through our small enterprise manufacturing support program that gives support up to 15 million rands. The Township and Rural Entrepreneurship Program, which is aimed at supporting micro, small, and medium enterprises in the townships and rural areas, and links market opportunities in townships and these areas to local productive business ventures, is one of the areas we are focusing on. I'm aware that honorable members have repeatedly raised concerns over the participation and the effectiveness of the scheme, which is why we are reviewing it. And as I detail on the plans that we'll be looking at, I will then outline what are the interventions that we are introducing. The Enterprise and Supplier Development Partnership Program is the 3rd intervention that we are making. And in this regard, we are partnering with major corporates and SOEs to open up supplier opportunities for Black-owned and women-owned SMMEs, including those that are in disadvantaged areas. Again, we've seen most of the corporates closing ranks in terms of refusing to unbundle their value chains. And we are pleading with all of them to make sure that they do good by our country, allow SMMEs to tap into their market, because when they do that, they do not only increase their chances of reaching out to everyone, but they also get to increase their profits whilst enabling the majority of our country to be able to participate effectively in their own economy. The fourth intervention looks at incubation and digital hubs rollout. We have established about 122 incubators and digital hubs, and this we do in collaboration with TVETs and universities, but we are calling upon all partners to make sure that they invest in building from ideation phase. The importance of these incubations is to give effect to those that have a thought process that they don't want to be employed and they want to make a difference. But an idea has to be housed somewhere for it to give access to being processed, and therefore a prototype is developed. And therefore South Africa will be able not only to become a consumer state, but a state that drives a meaningful industrialization with inventions that are produced by our people. And this is a very critical product for us to assist. Of course, we're looking at addressing the unemployment rate amongst young people, but to give them space again to participate in their own economy. And in this regard, we have the Young Entrepreneur Support, which focuses on initiatives that are brought by young people across various financial instruments. As we are looking at this again, it's a scheme that goes up to 15 million rands. We're looking at both new industries that the young people must innovate for, and we also fund the traditional schemes that are there. Of course, we can leave out the cooperatives that so many believe that it's just a waste of time to invest in because of the model that we had taken previously of just grouping unemployed people together irrespective of the skills they have and the desire to be in business. We are remodeling this concept to make sure that the cooperatives that we have are cooperatives that can trade, are cooperatives that can establish their own malls, but they can also participate in the value chain by bringing micro enterprises together who share the same idea, who have started doing something. And then when you go to McDonald's, as you love your burgers and chips there, when they say, Minister, we need 50,000 bags of potatoes a day, but your small businesses are not able to keep up with the demand. And we group all those ones that are able to produce 50 bags, 20 bags, and therefore they get to be paid based on their contribution. Of course, many members here have seen and have had that our SMMEs, cooperatives, especially those that are in the micro space, they really trade under undesirable conditions. And in this regard, we saw the need to make sure that we provide shared infrastructure program wherein we partner as the department with the municipalities to say, let us establish these infrastructures, whatever model they come up with. Because others are looking at container solutions, others are looking at the eco zones. I do wish that one day we can have what is there in Gauteng. If you see the Chinese mall, and everything is found there. And our people abandon all the products produced by the locals to go and look for cheaper prices. And this destroys our economy. We are looking forward to having our own SMME zones in the areas where we come from, wherein we give an opportunity to locally produce products that must help generate jobs and also contribute towards the economy. We also provide 100% grant support to micro enterprises. And in this regard, we give support of from 500 rands and to a maximum of 40,000 rands. If you see the hawkers that are on our taxi ranks, if you see the ladies and men at times that are busy sewing clothes and they say, Minister and government, we've taken the initiative, but we just need additional support, just a tiny intervention. And indeed, this is what we're looking at. In the last week, we've been in Athlone here in Western Cape. We've visited most of the areas in the townships to make sure that we make that realization a reality, because there are people who brave all storms, go out there despite the challenges they face to make sure that they can provide food for their families and therefore reduce the burden from the state. And they start by selling iskobo. And we undermine them because we want to go to fancy restaurants, forgetting that they're saving us from government to increase taxes that must therefore take care of those that do not have profit. And this is the sector that would like to invest more in. As you look at the statistics report, they also indicate the contribution that is made by this sector. And we would like, Deputy President, with your support in this House, to make sure that we call upon everyone to invest meaningfully in that sector. We would not have done much if we do not provide a credit guarantee to our SMMEs. As things stand, we all know that SMMEs are struggling to access funds because there will be a requirement that says 10% to fund SMMEs is high risk and all the English that comes with it. And therefore, as a responsible government, we said there's a need for us to provide that credit guarantee through the Kula Credit Guarantee Scheme that resides under CIFA. And it really helps to de-risk the bank finance to our SMMEs. We are looking again at creating new economy startups with a focus, as Minister Ramhupa said, that we really need to focus on tapping into the digital economy, including the new green economy, for our startups not to be left behind. And we give support in order to link them with the market and therefore be able to create growth in their areas. Honorable Chairperson, the DDM1 plan become critical tools to mobilize the three spheres behind the work of the department on the ground. Here we are building co-location points in different district and local municipalities with a fourfold aim. One, to ensure the accessibility of our portfolio services in townships and rural areas. Secondly, to raise awareness about how municipalities can reduce red tape and ease doing business for SMMEs and cooperatives. To raise awareness about the Township and Rural Entrepreneurship Program, to increase the pipeline of applications from SMMEs, and to ensure close cooperation with LED offices and getting them to assist SMMEs with registration and applications for our products and services. We also see a critical role for provinces, and we are working closely with the Red Tape Office and the Presidency to facilitate the establishment of Red Tape offices in each province. To enable this and to better enable provincial governments to champion the products and services that we offer, we have recently established a provincial coordination forum constituted by all 9 provinces, the Economic Development Department. And this forum will be convened quarterly and provide the technical inputs for the convening of MINMACs focused on localization and the development of small businesses and cooperatives. Together with Minister Godongwana, we will host a joint MINMAC to align roles and responsibilities of provinces in the development of SMMEs and cooperatives. There is lots of funding that goes uncoordinated, whether to municipalities or the provincial departments that's targeting SMMEs. And as Minister Ramhupa indicated, we can only succeed when we are coordinated, which becomes important that we identify the role played by the national department and the agencies, also identify the role by the provincial departments that are looking at investing in SMME development. We are finalizing the appointment of DDM champions, which allow us to roll out our digital SMME licensing application systems. We have piloted in KZN, including systems integration and interoperability. Minister Ramhupa indicated that the cost towards compliance is too high in this country. And if we are to reduce that, we've got to make sure that we create a one-stop center wherein SMMEs can access everything that is required. And by developing those systems, we believe that we'll be assisting them. We'll also ensure that we spend with more impact if LED offices assist with the development of the SMME pipeline for the take-up of TREP and other instruments. To ensure maximum participation of SMMEs in townships and rural areas this year, we've split the function between the 2 agencies, with CEDA administering the grant funding for micro enterprises and cooperatives, while CIFA will focus on small and medium enterprises. We believe this will really give access to many township businesses as opposed to what we see currently. Municipalities, despite the challenges they face, are our frontline forces and key to the work that all of us do across all spheres. They played a pivotal role in ensuring uptake of social relief during COVID, and we see them playing this support role to broaden our reach and strengthen delivery of TRAP. We look forward to working closely with COCTA, SALGA, and other key role players to make the DDM work in the interest of the poor and the underserved communities. Honorable members, we have commenced the process of reviewing the Business Act and intends to introduce an amendment bill to Parliament during this financial year. The Business Act provides for the issuing of trade licenses and permits by municipalities to both formal and informal businesses who want to operate in their geographic jurisdiction. As it stands, the Act provides a very broad policy and legislative framework without sufficient guidelines or a framework to ensure policy coherence and similarity across all the municipalities. This has also resulted in uneven implementation across the country, with effective implementation in highly resourced municipalities and metros, while most poor municipalities have ineffective systems and procedures, thus contributing to increased red tape. The amendments we intend to introduce will enable the growth of small business industry in our country to reduce red tape in business licensing. The regulations to the Act will also introduce mechanisms of governance to ensure all businesses operate within the ambit of the law and bringing South Africa and foreign-owned businesses under equal regulations. We intend to introduce this bill to Cabinet in May. Secondly, we are at advanced stages of amending the Small Enterprise Development Amendment Act, which will assist with the merger of our entities, including the Cooperatives Bank Development Agency, to create the Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency. We are doing away with CEDA and SEVA and CBDA as standalones, creating CIFDA, which will look at all the components. And that will be, of course, providing both financial and non-financial support to our ecosystem. Again, this bill will be introduced to Cabinet in May, and upon completion of Cabinet processes, these bills will be tabled here in Parliament. Honorable members, as Ralph Norman said, business creates jobs, government does not. Government creates a whole slew of jobs each time a new program or scheme is implemented, but always at the expense of the taxpayer. Small businesses invest in new businesses, which results in more jobs. And for this to happen, a conducive environment must be created no matter what it takes. Thus, we must make sure that we assist in fast-tracking the passing of these bills to find fruition. Ours is to serve our nation. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister. At this point, honorable members, we will proceed to an examination of provincial legacy and related projects. We're supposed to start with Premier Dukwan, and there seems to be some problem there. So we'll proceed to Premier Lesufi, to be followed by Premier of KZN, Umama Utube, and then the rest will follow. But we'll start with Honorable Lesufi.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Ndati Amos Masondo, our Honorable Deputy President, Comrade Paul Ms. Sylvia Lucas, ministers present, the MECs present, together with the Premier of KZN. Thank you so much, Premier Nomosa Dube. Would appreciate that, and all other premiers that are joining us online. The MECs that are here, thank you, Khatsidiak, and other MECs that have joined. The Honorable House Chairperson for Member Support and International Relations, May Winnie Ngwenya. Honorable House Chairperson, Committee of Oversight, Ntate Chomonyambi. Honorable Chief Whip of the National Council of Provinces, Ntate Siso Mohai, fellow premiers, ladies and gentlemen. We are truly humbled by our invitation as the body that coordinates all activities of all spheres of government. We are indeed honored to be part of this discussion and this debate that wants to task us as provinces to provide potential priorities that can be utilized to accelerate implementation in the next 14 months of this sixth administration. Since we announced, after we've been elected as the new government of the people of Gauteng, that will continue with the implementation of Vision 2030, which is growing Gauteng together. But we have elevated certain priorities of this particular vision so that we can service our people immediately with the tasks and issues that are confronting them. In this regard, we committed and pleaded that our provincial growth and development strategy will be supported by the following elevated commitments. And these are the commitments, Chair, that we want to elevate and ensure that we respond to the issues that are affecting our people immediately. The first one is to reposition Gauteng economic recovery and reconstruction and ensure that Gauteng remains the economic hub of our country. In doing so, we want to elevate the township economy as a new economy that is a new gold of our province. When our province was established, the mining and the gold industry was the area in which we laid the foundation for the establishment of our cities and the establishment of our province. The reality is that that gold is gone in Gauteng. And the new gold, we are convinced, is our Gauteng townships, informal settlement, and our hostels. These are areas that have the large number of our population, but most importantly, these are the communities that are hungry and thirsty for development. We want to take this advantage and therefore reposition the new economic recovery and construction of our province through these communities. I will detail later on the investment that we are creating and presenting in these communities as part of our process of ensuring that we recover economically after the unfortunate COVID-19 that devastated our economies in our province. The second priority, Chair, we have the strong view that if we can't confront crime head-on, if we can't confront corruption head-on, if we can't confront lawlessness and vandalism, that will be the end of all of us. We can't live in a province where illegal gun owners can determine who lives and who dies. We can't live in a community where cash heists are conducted on day broad light and our people are only excited in capturing the event rather than stopping the event. We have the strong view, we need to strengthen the arm of the state to respond to crime. We have the strong view that we need to strengthen the arm of the state to fearlessly fight corruption, lawlessness, and vandalism. And this, we will also further explain how we intend to deal with all these particular matters. But we've declared crime as enemy number one in our province. We can attract investment, but if people don't feel safe in our province, those investments will be gone. We can attract the best skills in our province, but if those people with their families don't feel safe in our province, there will be no skills development. We can attract many businesses that want to open their businesses in our province. But if you've got construction mafia who are lawlessness, who feel they own the 30% allocation to our people as their own and their own only, then there will be no development in our province. And therefore, our commitment to fight crime, our commitment to fight corruption, our commitment to fight lawlessness remain very firm and high on our agenda. The third elevated priority is for us to change the living conditions of our people in our townships the living conditions of our people in the informal settlements, and the living conditions of our people in provincially owned hostels. If our townships remain the way they are, then our freedom was meaningless. If we have more increases and more establishment of informal settlement rather than the reduction of informal settlement, then where is the call for free housing and housing our people? If we also declare hostels as areas where our people should stay in overcrowded areas without water, without electricity, and without proper sanitation, then our freedom is going to be meaningless. As the leader of this government that I have the honor to lead, our townships are going to be the terrain of our operations. Our informal settlements are going to be areas of development, and our hostels will be areas where our people will live freely in those particular communities. The fourth area that we want to elevate is our commitment to strengthen the capacity of the state to deliver quality services to our people. There are things that are non-negotiable, and there are things that we know as government, we must do them every day. One of those is making medication available to our people. We don't understand why, if you have to buy a Panado, you must go to a Samson who must buy it from Pesi, and Pesi must buy it from Lebogang before it reaches our hospital. We are building the capacity of the state to approach straight the producers of this medication and deliver it straight in our hospitals and in our clinics. We can't go through other people. We must build the capacity of the state to deal with these matters. This is a commitment that is non-negotiable. It goes through to any other thing that we need to provide in our institutions, bread in our hospitals. We really believe we can partner with our communities to provide this kind of support and other institutions of the state to ensure that the state is capacitated to play its own role and deal with these matters. It's within this context that we're also establishing a state bank, a bank that will ensure that our townships don't remain the way they are. We can't have township matchbox developed and funded by the apartheid state, and in a democratic state, almost 28 years, those townships look the same because commercial banks are quick to fund those that need cars, but they're not quick to fund those that want to develop their houses. We have to build the capacity of the state to ensure that we change the look and life of our townships by developing a developmental state that will fund our people to change their own houses, that will fund our communities to have their own businesses. We can't have commercial banks that are excited to fund cars, but are not excited to fund businesses. We can't have commercial banks that are excited to fund other wrong things when developmental things remain unattended. We are firm as this province to have a developmental bank that will attend to these issues and ensure that our communities prosper and we strengthen our communities. The last elevated commitment is to build the capacity of the state to communicate. We are of the strong view that there's no government that have done so well in the history of our country than this democratic government. But our capacity to communicate our achievement is limited by those that believe they can determine a narrative that this government is only corrupt and this government has done nothing to our people. We have a strong view. Those that could not be educated, today they are educated, thanks to this government. Those that could not have water, today they have water, thanks to this government. Those that could not be in an institution of higher learning, today they're in institutions of higher learning, thanks to this government. So our capacity to ensure that this government communicate and provide the relevant information to our people will be strengthened. But I want to go to priority number 2, Chair, if you don't mind, because as a priority, we believe that will reposition our province and strengthen our province to come back where it wants to. It's for us to fight crime. We can't live in a society where we fear our own shadows. We can't live in a society where when you leave this house and go to your own house, the first thing you look is to check if your television set is still there, because you fear that has been stolen. We have to then strengthen our fight against crime. And we are proud as the Gauteng government that we are empowering our Gauteng Department of Community Safety from being a 780 million department to be an 8 billion department in the next 3 years. We want to take the fight to crime, to criminals directly. We don't want to cut corners. And we want to ensure that in each and every community, our people can be safe. We have taken a decision to train 6,000 agile, fit, and capable young people. And as I'm speaking to you now, Chair, these 6,000 young people are in training, and from the 1st of May, they will be deployed in each and every ward in Gauteng to ensure that for the next 24 hours and 7 days, there is a presence of the police in each and every ward in Gauteng. This is a commitment that we are not prepared to retreat, so that criminals must know we will be there where they need us. It's also taken a decision to procure almost 400 new cars to work together with the police, so that police must not have an excuse that they don't have resources. These 400 new cars are capable to fight, and they're capable to chase those that think that they can run away purely because the police are not well resourced. We're further taking a decision to procure 6 new helicopters so that the police can be aware and they can be eyes of our communities during the day and also at night. This is our firm commitment that there's no way where criminals will hide in our province. On the 1st of May, we're unleashing close to 8,000 face recognition CCTVs, so that there's no inch of Gauteng that is not under the microscope of our police and our law enforcement agencies. They can run, but they can't hide. We are prepared to take the fight against crime back to criminals. If Gauteng can't be safe, South Africa will never be safe. If you take the statistics of crime and check the numbers of Gauteng and the Western Cape, and remove the numbers of Gauteng and the Western Cape from those figures, you might be convinced that South Africa is a better place to be. So if we can't confront crime at the center where it's happening in Gauteng, then we'll never fight crime in our country. We are prepared, we are committed, and we want this House to support us and all institutions of law enforcement agencies to support us when we unleash this kind of support to our police, our law enforcement agencies, and all matters that are important in our communities. And one area where we need immediate support from national government and provincial government is on the car registration regime. Every crime that is committed, a car is involved. Either that car is stolen or that car is a getaway car. And our car registration regime is seriously compromised. People can change number plate freely. People can drive without number plates freely. And people can just go to any other person to produce a new number plate. We are putting an end of this in Gauteng. We will be introducing new number plates of Gauteng starting from the end of this particular year. No one will register a car that is not owned by that particular individual in our province. This is a firm stand that we must take and appreciate. We are also in the process of eliminating illegal guns. Remember, an illegal gun was once a legal gun. So if we can genuinely put tracking system in legal guns so that by the time they convert to illegal guns, we can be in a position to track them, eliminate them, and remove them in our communities. We have too many illegal guns running freely in our province, and this cannot be allowed. We need a partnership with local government, a partnership with national government, so that all these matters can be attended to and be resolved. This is a firm commitment that we are putting up, and it's a firm commitment that we are very clear that the fight against crime is real, and we'll take this fight to the criminals, and we'll make our country safe. And we can only do so in partnership with all arms and institutions of government. We want to appeal to those that are willing to work with us, that please feel free to work with us so that we can make our country and our province safe. I truly appreciate your attention. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Nomsa Ube.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Can I acknowledge the presence of our Deputy Chairperson, Honorable Lucas, and Chairperson, Honorable Masondo, the Deputy President of our country, Honorable Mashatile, the House Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Nyambi. Can I also acknowledge our ministers present in our midst? Minister in the Presidency, Minister Ramahopa, Minister of Small Business, Minister Ndabeni Abrams, honorable members of the NCOP, honorable premiers, my colleague, Premier Lesufi, and MECs that are present, and all the other honorable members that have joined virtually as well. May I also start by appreciating Honorable Chairperson the opportunity given to us by this NCOP to present on behalf of the province of KwaZulu-Natal key projects and programs that we'll be delivering in the remaining months of the 6th administration. As the province of KwaZulu-Natal, we have defined the remaining period as a time for decisive action, renewal, and hope to build a better and prosperous KwaZulu-Natal. This is a year in which we want to leave no one to be left behind. The trials and the setback of the COVID-19, the unrest, the floods, which severely disrupted the set of the visions that we've set for ourselves in this administration. We've also set ourselves priorities in the 6th administration at the beginning of the term as KwaZulu-Natal, and these were defined as the provision of basic services with immediate challenges being water, sanitation, refuse removal, job creation, growing the economy, growing the SMME and cooperatives, education and skills development, human settlement and sustainable livelihood, building a peaceful province, build a caring and incorruptible government. These priorities are grounded on the vision and the aspirations of the Freedom Charter and the Reconstruction and Development Plan. So when we looked at those priorities, honorable members and honorable chairperson, in 2023, we prioritized and we announced the following interventions: the energy security plan for KwaZulu-Natal, the job opportunities for young people and mass employment creation, strengthening the fight against crime, fraud, corruption, faster implementation of the economic recovery and transformation plan, delivering quality basic services and maintenance of infrastructure, building a capable and agile state machinery to drive implementation of our programs. What we have been able to set up in terms of the energy matters, honorable members, is that we've been able to establish the KwaZulu-Natal Energy War Room, which is chaired by the Premier, overseeing the province's response to the energy crisis and developing our energy master plan. We've been able to look at starting the electrification of 25,000 households and complete the exemption of critical infrastructure from load shedding. The support that we are giving to the ESCOM on the first project that is going to be groundbreaking for all of us, which is called the Battery Energy Storage System in the province, which is based in NCOP around Mpumalanga municipality under Umsunduzi and Impendle. This will have a capacity to produce 8 megawatts, which is equivalent to 34 megawatts per hour in distributing enough to power a small town at least for more than 4 hours. Also, the acceleration of the rooftop solar panels to household in the province, in line with the pronouncement by the Minister of Finance, supporting eThekwini municipality and other municipalities in implementing their own energy generating capacities, using the Richards Bay IDZ to establish itself as an energy hub. And to this effect, we have quite a number of projects that are already under construction, which are going to be generating quite a number of energy, which will be complementing the grid in our province. We've also looked at the issues of crime, honorable members. The province is also discussing with the national government, because we have discovered that There are a number of fake gun shops in our province, unlicensed guns. We have started lobbying the national government in terms of reviewing of the regulations of possessions of firearms and ammunition. We believe that there is a number for our government to limit the number of ammunition a person can purchase at any given time, because what we have discovered is that it's possible for a person to go and buy ammunition in more than one shop in a day. In fact, you can even buy in more than 10 shops in a day without anybody tracking that. We are also reviving our Operation Chanela, which is a project that was focusing on violence, taxi violence, but also looking at the road violence and crime in general. Also strengthening our efforts of working with all other stakeholders around issues of crime. The installation of various technologies, including drones, as part of the contribution to fight criming mechanisms. Intensifying raids in search of guns and drugs in taxi ranks, residential areas, hostels, taverns, and similar sports. Establishing the community safety intervention units, focusing on the safety of Amakosi and Izinduna, and reprioritizing our budgets, honorable members. We've also looked at our reconnection with working with Gauteng province, between Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, because there's a number of interaction amongst our communities, and unless we close rank in terms of how we work, we're not going to be able again to defeat crime and criminals. We have reprioritized our budget as various departments to ensure that we put aside money in order to all of us contribute towards crime fighting technologies, equipment, financing. We've also looked at education and skills, focusing on improvement of quality of education and preparing our learners for the future world and work in industries. The province has extended coding and robotics curriculum in many schools. This year, we're going to be targeting 24 more schools and 33 in the foundation phase and 211 in the intermediate phase of grade 7. The improvement of matric results will remain our priority. As you would know, that last year we recorded 6.2 improvement in the matric results. The project is also working at ensuring that all our schools' infrastructure is upgraded. The Department of Education also plans to build 12 new schools in 2023, which includes a maritime school of excellence, the ICT-focused schools, extending the present ICT school or paperless schools that we already have in the province. The steady increase on the number of paperless schools is really an encouraging a plan and a program that we are forging ahead with, which have seen already schools such as Mandla Mthethwa and School of Excellence, as well as the Anton Lembede School of Innovation and Technology, these being amongst the paperless schools that we have in the province. In looking at the health, we have a plan to build 11 new clinic and repurposing 4 district hospitals into regional hospitals. We're also planning to build a new modern hospital in the northern part of our province and implementing the e-health system to reduce patient waiting times. And this is one of our pilot projects that we're very proud of, where we are going to be making sure that we digitize the files, even the old files of the hospital, so as to make sure that our communities, wherever they are able to access their patient records, but also this can improve and save a lot of time and money into our system. Our programs of gender-based violence, we are forging ahead with partnership of establishing the training and programmatization of ward-based gender-based violence rapid response teams, which are integrated into the war room, starting with the gender-based violence hotspots in our province. We are coordinating the refurbishment of shelters. We have 50 victim-friendly rooms that we've been able to do so far, developing gender-based violence and femicide app that we already have called Operation Vula Fund, which is a program that is aiming at ensuring that all of those community members with businesses are funded with equipment as well as financial funding. The Flood Relief Fund for SMMEs, the Township and Rural Revitalization Strategy, Tourism Revitalization Plan, the rolling out of the Cannabis Master Plan in 4 districts of Utukela, Umzinyati, Umgungundlovu, and Herigwala, rolling out of the agri-hubs throughout our province. To this effect, we are also proceeding with a number of major projects that are aiming at unlocking the investments in our province. Right now, we are looking at a greenfield investment project that are totaling 8.3 billion, which will create more than 4,000 jobs. Also looking at the Investec plan, which is to invest on 6 billion redevelopment of the old Corabrick site in the northern part of Durban as a logistic and distribution area for Investec properties that will create more than 16,000 jobs. The economic, special economic zones, we are finalizing the implementation of the Newcastle and Ladysmith as the clothing and textile economic zones, so as to link with our Durban Trade Port economic zones, as well as the Richard Bay IDZ. We have also looked at repurposing our youth fund, which has been set aside this year at 100 million. The repurposing of this youth fund will see us responding with the mass employment of young people instead of funding maybe individual projects of young people. We fund projects that have already been developed as a market for young people, but working with the private sector as well. One of such is projects that we finalized working with Sumitomo Dunlop, which is a rollout of what is called a box partnership, which is a smart centers and cooperatives in the township and rural areas. These cooperatives are to be fully owned by young people to promote local economic growth and absorb young people into the tire and automotive industries. The executive committee also in its plan has ensured that over and above what has been budgeted by various departments, we put aside again another 10 million towards what we called a massification of employment opportunities, as well as the intensification of extended public works programs. We're also looking at the issues of water and sanitation. As honorable members would know, that this is still one of the big challenges that we're facing as a province. In this regard, we are looking at a number of water projects in terms of ensuring that projects such as Lower Umkomazi bulk water supply scheme, as well as the raising of the Hazelmere Dam, the Upper Molweni Aqueduct, the Jozini Dam that is now licensed to extract water for our communities locally. Our war rooms in all the districts are now functional, except for one that we are now working on. The issues of infrastructure maintenance also remain on the radar to ensure that the infrastructure that we are investing on.
Listening to you and Premier at the time.
Okay, now I'm just on the last paragraph, Chair. Thank you, Chairperson. Just to say that indeed, as the provincial government, we are also excited with the smart province projects that we are rolling out, and this year we'll also see an additional 8,890 Wi-Fi hotspots, bringing a total of 13,000 Wi-Fi hotspots in our province, with an aim of ensuring that we digitize our libraries, all the schools, health zones, as well as other community hubs. Honorable members, we really wish to say that, of course, the issues of a capable state is one area that we are concentrating on, looking on the Operation Clean Audit, looking on ensuring that the issues of crime and corruption in our province is dealt with, including workers or members that are having to go, the disciplinaries, that those are fast-tracked. Thank you very much, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. So persuasive in your argument, delivery, but unfortunately, time does not allow us. I'm going to make a plea to the remaining speakers to keep their input at maximum of 8 minutes, 8 minutes instead of 10. I know this may be a bit unfair and so on, but I'm sure time being a scarce resource, all of us appreciate what needs to be done going forward. Let's go to Honorable Matabate. Is not available, but I know it's not available. But MEC Tim Koni is supposed to speak on his behalf.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, Mr. Amos Masondo, Deputy Chairperson, Mrs. Lucas, the Honorable Deputy President, Mr. Paul Mashatile, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers present here, Honorable Premiers, MECs representing Premiers from other provinces, Honorable members of the National Council of Provinces, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Chairperson, I'm excited to have this opportunity to address this August House on various matters pertaining to service delivery in our province. Limpopo province plays an important role in the national and Southern African regional economy as we share national borders with Mpumalanga, Gauteng, and Northwest provinces, and international borders with 3 countries, which is Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. The province developed the Limpopo Development Plan 2020 to 2025. Limpopo Provincial Development Plan is aligned to the National Development Plan Vision 2020 and other policies and regulatory frameworks. All of these are developed according to our vision that we strive to drive a vision of resilient, vibrant, and prosperous province inspired by its diverse and creative people and its environment. The province's positive economic growth in 2021 can be credited to the booming mining commodity prices. It is pleasing to report that in 2021, the mining industry had the biggest share in terms of contribution to the provincial economy at 31.2%. Mining was followed by commodity services at 24.4%, finance at 16.8%, and trade at 13.3%. Transport was at 3.6%, electricity at 3.4%, agriculture at 3.1%, manufacturing 2.4%, and construction had a share of below 4% in the provincial economy at 1.8%. Regarding unemployment rate, we are mindful of the fact that the official unemployment rate in our country has decreased despite the adverse macroeconomic pressure, Limpopo province created 133,000 jobs in Q4 of 2022. Limpopo is among the 5 provinces that recorded the largest increase in employment, with Gauteng up to 381,000, Western Cape up by 333%, Mpumalanga up by 134, Limpopo up by 133,000, and Eastern Cape up by 132,000. The total number of employed persons in the province is now at 1,337,000 compared to 1,184,000 in the fourth quarter of 2021. Jobs were significantly created in trade, which is 44,000, mining 35,000, and finance 31,000. Official unemployment rate is now at 2.1%, point down from 13.9% in Q4 of 2021 to 31% in Q4 of 2022. Honorable Chairperson, according to Limpopo Development Plan, the province has targeted to reduce the percentage of people living in poverty by 20%. And according to Socio-Economic Review and Overview 2022, the province managed to achieve 59%, which represents significant improvement. Education is the most priority in our province and our country. Limpopo is targeted to achieve 80% metric pass rate in 2022. The province managed to achieve 72.1%, which is work in progress. Access to basic service is one of our high-level priority development programs. In line with the Limpopo Development Plan, we targeted to provide access to basic services as follows: water, 80%, electricity, 95%, and sanitation, 65%. Significant strides have been made as far as electricity is concerned, which is at 97.2%. And much still need to be done in terms of water and sanitation, which are 69.4% and 58.75% respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, on the priority areas for 2023-2024 financial year, we have leveraged on our comparative advantage to advance towards rapid industrialization through implementation of Industrial Master Plan, Catalytic Economic Project. The Limpopo province has forged strategic partnership with the private sector, national SOEs, and neighboring states to leapfrog industrialization. The province has initiated 2 catalytic projects, the Mpumalanga SEZ worth 150 billion of investment with a target of 21,700 jobs, and Fitahomu towards SEZ Industrial Park worth 25 billion of investment that will create 25,000 jobs. We are noting the progress in the Mpumalanga SEZ in the implementation of bulk infrastructure, among others, roads and stormwater, which are underway. Limpopo province has industrial park in Sishiu with an investment value of 40 million to provide 3,737 jobs. Gowankowa Industrial Park, which is at 35 million investment value that can create 1,262 jobs, and Toando Industrial Park, which will create 1,000 jobs. In agriculture, the province will forge ahead with the implementation of both turnaround strategy on improving agricultural production and agro-processing strategy, as they are vital and viable sector of the provincial economy. This will encourage the revival of agricultural parks initiatives, intensifying implementation of farmer support program and youth to participate in agribusiness and agro-processing progress. The agricultural production, including agro-processing initiative, are through projects like macadamia development, which is estimated project cost of 380 million, and it will create almost 1,500 jobs. The Citrus project, with an estimated cost of 510 million, and is estimated to create 1,170 jobs. An avocado development project, which is estimated cost of 230 million, and it will create 1,100 jobs. Other agricultural initiatives include 500-hectare potato development linked with Tala Food. Delivery of infrastructure plays a catalytic role in comparative advantage of the province. That's mining, agriculture, and tourism, and priority growth point areas. We are excited, Honorable Chair and Deputy President, that finally the long-awaited Limpopo Academic Hospital is going to be constructed this year. The Minister of Finance announced in Parliament during his budget speech that the construction of 488-bed hospital, which will begin in the month of March, of particular importance is that this massive project will not only help towards improving provision of health services in the province, but will also create jobs and business opportunity for our people during post-construction. The province will improve water supply reliability to support socio-economic development. We will also urge the National Department of Water and Sanitation to complete the bulk water project like the Nandoni Dam and many others, as they are vital and critical for the economic development in our province. Integrated roads and transport network, sustainable integrated human settlement, including upgrading of informal settlement, is of a vital importance for our province. Limpopo province is on an alignment of national and provincial and local government infrastructure planning, resource allocation, and delivery. The province will further make capacity building for infrastructure delivery and project management. We will implement SME empowerment program, that's local contractors and local laborers. We are forging ahead with the implementation of key strategic roles like.
Yeah, if you can move towards close.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm actually, yes,
Second.
yes. Our province is working on building our Limpopo theater, and our provincial treasury has set aside a budget of 80 million. And National Department of Sports and Culture has committed a budget of 43 million over 3 financial years towards the project. In conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, I would like to quote President Nelson Mandela when he says, I think the time has come for us to consider, in the light of our experience as this day at home, whether the methods we have applied so far are adequate. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Yes. Appropriate closing comment there. In Limpopo, there's been a talk of Nandoni Dam for ages. So that's why the quote there, the ending quote is so appropriate. Let us address all of those issues. Otherwise, Honorable Member, thank you very much. The next presentation is going to be from Honorable Shiba, who's going to be virtual, speaking on behalf of the Premier Ntweni Tsipane. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Hoping that, let me take this opportunity and greet you, Deputy Chairperson, and also to greet Deputy President Babuma Shatile, ministers that are present. Let me also greet honorable members, SALGA representatives, and the staff. Chairperson, allow me to present on behalf of Mpumalanga province, the presentation as per the slides that was forwarded to your good selves. Slide number 2 is the presentation outline, of which I will not go through it. Slide the following slide, it's about the purpose of the meeting, as indicated there, to share with the NCOP the key provincial priorities and the key development, the projects for accelerated implementation across all clusters, as well as the districts that we need to reach, the 3 districts, as well as the 17 local municipalities. The next slide is about the long-term plans as per the strategic plans and framework that are informed by the national policy framework. I will not go through them because it is indicated on the slide to save time, as well as the annual provincial program of action. The next slide, it's about the cluster system in our province. I will also not go through it, but it is as per indicated in the 9-point plan that was adopted by the Executive Council on Lekgotla in February 2023. The next slide is about the population statistics. The next slide is about the population. Slide number 8 is about the household per district. I will not go through it one by one, Chairperson. I will now start with the MTSF priority number 1 on governance cluster and job massification. 500 youth targeted for the national certificate in IT system support, working with ICT SITA. We will also implement recommendations applicable to the province from the National Electricity Crisis Committee on resolving the prevailing electricity crisis, as well as to coordinate participation of community that live close to power stations and the associated coal mines to remain vigilant in defense of the power station in the province. We're also having budget for that, as well as the responsible institution. On Premier's Youth Development Fund to support youth enterprises to contribute to job opportunities, we will provide pre and post investment support and set aside at least 30% for people with disability. On support to military veterans, we will establish of military veterans desk by January 2024, as well as we will monitor and report the implementation of the program of action for the military veterans on a quarterly basis. We're also having budget for that one. And we will institutionalize the implementation of Provincial Labour Summit resolutions that was held with organized labor last year. On crime, criminality, and immigration, we will intensify the fight against fraud and corruption through the training and accreditation of all ethics officers in the province, and will undertake a lifestyle audit and designated members of staff in line with the recently gazetted framework, and will also coordinate a strategic partnership and establish a job war room in collaboration with local municipality and social partners. We'll also identify every job opportunities within and outside government and place young people. On Silalele, a service delivery monitoring tool that will help in ensuring efficient real-time monitoring of service delivery. On the next slide, about governance cluster on job massification, we will institutionalize implementation of provincial disaster management plan and framework. We'll also fast track the process of to review 4 state-owned entities, your MRTT, your MER, your MTPA, and MEGA. On the next slide, about disaster management response, we will coordinate the implementation of flood management strategy and facilitate implementation of the Public Service Commission's framework on professionalization, public service including skills audit for Mbombela, Emakazeni, and Ligwa. We were having a budget for this, Honorable Chairperson. On governance cluster and job massification, we enroll 35 unemployed graduates on departmental youth development program, 21 of which to be accredited by the Institute of Professional Accountants, and also rolling out the business automation system through transversal e-sourcing and e-submission of two development, and intensify municipal support for FRP municipality and infrastructure delivery management system. On priority 2, Chairperson, on just energy transition, we will coordinate and implement provincial jet plans in partnership with the Presidential Climate Commission, the Climate Investment Fund, and the World Bank, including exploring plans to renewable energy for government facilities, reskilling and upskilling the most vulnerable labor force, and facilitate rehabilitation.
As you conclude, Honorable Member.
As I conclude, Chair, on food security, we're having 5 projects as indicated in slide number 19, and also Chair, the other slide, it indicates the job that will be created by the province, and also, Chair, we're also having projects that we will be upscaling per district. Although I will not go in each of them, but it is indicated in the presentation, Chairperson. Hertziband 11 project, Ehlanzeni 11 project, as well as Enkangala, we're also having 11 project. Chair, I'm galloping because you said that time is against me.
Yes, your time is up.
The National
Your time is up, Honorable Member.
Note and provide a chair on key priorities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey.
Next is Honorable MEC K. Mustinochi on behalf of the Premier of the Northwest.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Lucas, Deputy President of the Republic, Honorable Mashatile, Honorable Marupingi Ramokgopa, Minister of DPME, Minister of Small Business, Honorable Stella Abrahams, the Premier of Gauteng and the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, and my fellow colleagues, MECs from different provinces, honorable members and delegates to the NCOP and the leadership of SALGA represented here. I take this opportunity to greet you all on behalf of the people of Northwest and the provincial government. At the core of our Envisage 14 months plan is the improvement of the quality of life of our people. In terms of building a capable, ethical and developmental state, the province will strengthen its intergovernmental relations, engagement with municipalities to ensure accountability, adequate planning, monitoring and evaluation through the DDM model and the District Intergovernmental Relations Forum. We have finalized the DDM plans of all 4 districts in the province and have started with the implementation, albeit very slow after the local government elections. Importantly, other than the Premier's Coordinating Council, all departments in the province through the members of the Executive Council are and will continue to convene Minimex with their relevant portfolio members of mayoral committees to ensure that we are delivering on sectoral priorities and where a need arises, provide required support and capacity. Through the provincial treasury, the province on a quarterly basis monitor expenditure of both the equitable share, conditional grants, and infrastructure budget for all department entities and municipalities. Areas of non-expenditure
are elevated to the Premier's Coordinating Council, or the Treasury convenes a one-on-one engagement with the specific municipality to highlight areas of concerns and collectively develop intervention program, which often varies from municipality to municipality. We further wish to welcome intervention from Infrastructure South Africa to support municipalities on their infrastructure delivery with engineering and project management services in order to accelerate completion of this project. As the provincial government, we have taken a decision that all contracts above 10 million rand will be subjected to the Provincial Treasury Internal Audit Committee in order to ascertain that due process were followed and that it is awarded to companies that are competent and compliant. Furthermore, we will not compromise on performance and compliance with the relevant laws and regulations in the Republic. Through the Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Unit in the Office of the Premier, we will continue to ensure integration of monitoring and evaluation as a daily management tool through monitoring of the implementation of government-wide monitoring and evaluation framework. The performance agreement with the members of the Executive Council was reviewed and finalized and continue to be monitored on a quarterly basis. We will conclude the engagement with relevant state institutions responsible to conduct lifestyle audit by the end of May in the coming financial year. We will further extend the scope to include officials with financial delegations, those in supply chains, and further responsible for services such as issuing licenses and permits, amongst others. Honorable Chairperson, in terms of economic transformation and job creation, we reaffirm our commitment as the provincial government to be more robust and deliberate in advancing economic transformation and the creation of jobs, working with the private sector and government across all spheres. We hope through the Department of Trade and Industry competition, the licensing of Bojanala Platinum Special Economic Zone will be finalized in the second quarter of the next financial year. The province has committed more than 40 million annually to resource the SEZ engagements with the hosting municipalities are ongoing with the support of the provincial treasury to ensure their financial commitments, which must assist with bulk infrastructure provision, and a further 6.1 billion investment pipeline is in place. Strategic departments are driving a contractor development programs which aims to empower local SMMEs in the province. This, in the coming year, it will be intensified with a target of more than 80 contractors across the province. We will ensure that more than 50% of our procurement spend benefits local contractors without compromising on quality delivery of service. To that end, we believe that it will address both employment creation, SMME support, localization, and broadly contribute to the economy of the province. The provincial treasury is working with all accounting officers for a mechanism to ensure that the pronouncement of the president on 40% of the procurement spend, that it's directed to empowering women contractors. Through the Department of Economic Development, Tourism, Environment and Conservation, Arts, Culture, Sports and Recreation and Social Development, we will further support more than 350 SMMEs, cooperatives, athletes, artists, and non-profit organizations to drive our socio-economic development agenda. Through the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, we are in a process of allocating 20 farms to 20 beneficiaries to drive food security in the province. Honorable Chairperson, we currently have 2 digital hubs and innovative hubs across in the 2 districts of Bojanala and Ngaka-Modiri-Molema. In the coming financial year, 2 collaboration effort with SEDA, and now the minister has announced that with the new bill, it will change to a new entity. We will continue with those partnerships and ensure that we extend the digital hubs to Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and Dr. Ruth Sokhomotsi Mumpati district. Investment in our economic infrastructure is ongoing. 13 billion is set aside for the maintenance and upgrade of 39 rural roads across the 4 districts. The province has committed 30 million to explore energy security in the province, considering the existing challenges in the country, working with NCOP, Ministry of electricity and the Northwest University. The province has set aside 18 million for the development of trade market in Dr. Rutsi Mumpati and Ngaka Mudire Molema district. We welcome the funding intervention and setting up of the task team that will address the water challenges in the province and ensure sustainable solution is in place for uninterrupted water supply across the province by the Minister of Water Affairs and Sanitation. We will continue with our effort to engage private sector in the province to support and assist government in implementation of its priorities, importantly for retention of investments in the province. The province further intends to create more than 50,000 employment opportunities. The employment opportunities will derive from the EPWP Presidential Employment Stimulus and other initiatives from different government departments. In terms of education, skills and health, the province reaffirms its commitment to empower young people. Chief amongst the empowerment intervention is education. We have put aside 20 million for a provincial bursary fund, which will be spread across all the 4 districts. For the ICT transformation and improvement of access, the province has set aside 119 million to expand internet connectivity reach in public institutions such as schools and libraries. Due to challenges experienced with the scholar transport, the province has increased its allocation to total 400 million. This, we believe, will improve access to education for the rural poor learners. We should state, Honorable Chair, that this increase is not adequate to address the demand. Skills development remains a necessary intervention to reskilling our workforce. Accordingly, the 1% skills levy will be as per legislation to the relevant skills authority. Importantly, we will expand our skills provision to young people, women, persons with disability, and SMMEs in different economic sectors such as manufacturing, built environment, hospitality, creative, and sports, amongst others. School nutrition programs to more than 300 schools in the province will now include a breakfast. The province, through the Department of Health, will further refurbish more than 44 health clinics. We will further complete the 2 nursing campuses in Ngaka Mudire Molema and Dr. Kenneth Kaunda.
As you move towards close.
In conclusion, in terms of the social cohesion and safer communities, the province, through the Department of Community Safety and Social Development, will strengthen its district coordinating effort with law enforcement agencies against GBV and femicide. We will start with the construction of Bojanala Patient Treatment Center, the provision through the Department of the province, through the Department of Arts, Culture and Recreation, will roll out self-defense program to elderly people, women and LGBTQI communities in partnership with relevant federations and departments. In conclusion, no doubt again that the task ahead of our required collaboration effort is in order to maximize the impact. We are duty bound as government to mobilize public and private resources to work for the people. We will champion the cause of resolving triple challenges. In doing so, we will leave no one behind. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Does the applause be fitting of the youth and women? No, thank you very much. We'll proceed to the next presentation, which will come from MEC V. Blenis on behalf of the Dr. Saul, Premier of the Northern Cape.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the NCOP. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the Deputy President who's in our midst today, the Deputy Chair of the NCOP, Ministers and Deputy Ministers present, Premiers, MECs. I've been advised to cut down on greetings. Let me say, all protocol observed. It is quite an honor
Honorable Chair, for me to be standing here and addressing this House this morning and to be given an opportunity to speak on behalf of the province, the Northern Cape. We have a presentation that is prepared for the House, and it will be as follows: an introduction, we'll share our provincial vision, we'll give an approach and a roadmap. It will be quite a short presentation, Honorable Chair. When the sixth administration started, the province undertook a process of collaborative dialogue, which culminated in crafting of a provincial vision, which is building a modern, growing, and a successful province. And I will not go in details because it actually outlines itself as the presentation continues. And this vision gives effect to a government which cares for the vulnerable and makes life worth living for them. And this would entail increased number of households with access to the grid, water, and adequate sanitation. And in this presentation, we try and outline our provincial growth development plan and realizing Vision 2040 towards building a modern, growing, and a successful province. And this priorities are driven by 4 drivers and pathways of prosperity, which is economic transformation, growth and development, social equity and human welfare, environmental sustainability and resilience, effective and efficient governance. And I will not go in detail because it outlines as we continue. We have developed a provincial roadmap and reviewed our approach for year 2023 and 2024. And this approach's theme is building a provincial roadmap for decisive action for resilience, hard work, and progress. And that looks at action, accountability, and advancement. I'm on slide 8. I see it's not moving. In modernizing the
Just
province,
move on,
Honorable Chair.
They'll catch us. as we
Okay.
move,
Okay.
as we gallop.
Okay. In modernizing the province, Honorable Chair, knowing that the Northern Cape is quite a vast province and we can make use of e-government to ensure that we bridge the gap between its district and we effect service delivery better, we are busy developing an e-government strategy to enhance service delivery aimed at improving production processes and enhancing delivery of public services. We are establishing a provincial information technology shared services center as a mechanism to deploy the expertise required to and implement technologies for digital transformation for service delivery improvement. With our social partners, we have been upgrading connectivity of the province. At the beginning of the sixth administration, only a few areas in the Northern Cape had 4th generation network, and that has grown to most of the areas in the province having connectivity. Vodacom and MTN are partners we have, and there's been an investment of 230 million in expanding the broadband coverage in deep rural areas, upgrading base station sites and network resilience. And MTN has 25 new connectivity sites and it's busy modernizing 48 sites in our province. The Digital Tushong Service Center is a project that's underway as well, and it will be piloted in the Northern Cape. And this is a joint initiative with the Public Service Innovation. We have our broadband strategy and we are rolling it out in full swing through its prioritized building blocks for implementation starting on the 1st of April 2023. And this was a commitment that was made in the State of the Province address by the Premier. SA Connect, a rollout plan for phase 2, South Africa Connect projects will be implemented at 1,599 sites for phase 2 over the next 3 years in clinics, schools, and in clinics and schools in our province, and expanding broadband coverage in deep rural areas, upgrading base station sites and network resilience, 25 new connectivity sites and 48 sites of modernization in our province. The total value of Vodacom and MTN in this new financial year is 410 million investment. We have also started a rollout of provision of tablets for all our grade 12 learners, and this is a project that will go on until August 2023. We have a provision of internet access to all schools in the province, operationalization of the computer-aided ambulance dispatch system to improve on emergency medical services and response times. Phase 1, which is automate EMS call logging, has been complete and went live in October 2020. Phase 2, which is integrating this to ambulance dispatch system, is underway, and integration of vehicle location tracking system, which means when you call an ambulance, you can actually track and see how far it is. We're expanding internet connectivity to clinics and hospitals, the Bokamusha Digital Health Strategy, public health facilities supplied with adequate ICT infrastructure to implement the Digital Health Strategy 2019 to 2024. We also have a biometric patient management system that we are working on, and it focuses on digitization of existing patient files in selected facilities and health patient registration systems, electronic patient record keeping. In growing the province, which is the second pillar of our vision, we are looking at youth unemployment and youth development. And to this effect, the province has just established a new ministry that is focused on youth, women, and persons with disabilities to ensure that we bring about socio-economic transformation to these vulnerable groups, and the skills plan inclusive of private sector contribution to be responsive and relevant to provincial skills demand and sector skills. We also have under provincial infrastructure and maintenance, we're remodeling the Department of Roads and Public Works. We're exploring increased investment opportunities for all our catalytic projects to boost the economic growth and reduce unemployment, while fostering partnership, multi-sectoral coordination to accelerate infrastructure finances and technical support. And furthermore, we have a number of catalytic projects aligned to the National Infrastructure Plan and creating economic opportunities and eliminating poverty through initiatives that entail education, health services, social protection, skills development, and job creation. And just to mention a few of these projects, it's the Namakwa SEZ, where the Vendetta mine has committed 21 billion rand investment in the Northern Cape, and this will generate opportunities for SMMEs. The mine's capacity will be doubled in phase 2 with the construction of a smelter, which will create many downstream opportunities. We have the Katu Industrial Park, where implementation is taking place, and we've received support from Anglo and Infrastructure South Africa to fast-track implementation. We have your Uppington Industrial Park. We've signed MOUs with the Western Cape Provincial Government to develop a green hydrogen corridor along SADC. We have the Priska Power Reserve, Mpumalanga Solar and Green Hydrogen Park, the tire granular facility, where an investment of 15 million has been done to establish a tire granular facility in Kimberley. And these granules have a myriad of users and could be first step in creating a series of industries linked to the use of this tire crumb. This project will be launched in May this year. The following slide just shows the positioning of these projects, and the following slide shows the industrial corridor investment profile. Furthermore, in growing the economy of, there's still a lot to. We also believe, Honorable Chair, that in ensuring that we are a successful province, we should be able to decrease the levels of gender-based violence and femicides in the province. We're intensifying the implementation of the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicides. We're mainstreaming gender empowerment of youth, persons living with disabilities within all departments. As I've mentioned, there's already a ministry that has been created to ensure that it coordinates and implements this across different departments. We are fighting substance abuse. And of course, there are challenges that we would face, which would speak to lack of resources, be it financial or non-financial, joint planning, joint budgeting, and joint implementation, lack of coordination and integration, inadequate skills training, energy insecurity, and the need to strengthen intergovernmental relations and cooperative governments. In closing, Honorable Chair, the focus areas for 2023-2024 around social compacting with labor, business, and community, intensifying our fight against gender-based violence, improving in grade 12 outcomes, both quantitatively and qualitatively, increased spending and investment in both social and economic infrastructure, growing the economy through the catalytic projects that have already been mentioned, and with our partners to continue to mobilize, modernize our province through massive investments in broadband infrastructure. And we do this on a quest to building a modern, growing, and a successful province. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you can see there that he's also learned a lot of skills, amongst others, just to say, as I close. Now, thank you very much. We'll now proceed to the interactive session. And this session is going to be facilitated by Honorable Chomo Nyambi. So, Honorable Nyambi, if you can just please come forward. Yeah.
Deputy President, ministers, premiers, MECs, colleagues, everybody on the virtual platform. It's now the time for the interactive session. We are mindful of the time, but we made that plea to the members of cabinet to be part of us so that we can have that process. We'll quickly take the hands and comments. Does necessarily mean that it has to be a question, even if it's a comment or you want to comment. We always say there's nothing wrong to give credit where it's due. Luthuli, you'll be number one. Honorable Luthuli.
Ngibonge chairperson. Mhlambe akona umbuzo kodwa it's more of ingomo mhlambe engase ngiyibeke. Nayizolo ngeke ngasho ngathi le strategic planning is long overdue. I think besokwenza umehluko mhlambe sasenza 3 years ago. But ngisalapho ku Minister of Small Businesses ukhuluma ngama funding amaningi akhona and available, but I feel ukuthi as much as ekhona but abantu ikakhulukazi emakhaya abazi ngawo kunale udonga abangakwazi ukufika kulona. Sinabo mama asebefundise izingane ngokudayisa amagwinya, omama abadayisa emarket amadumba abatshalayo every year amadumbe nobhatata, but abazi ukuthi elitli funding amase bayithole to take them further, and also abazi ukuthi bangakwazi kanjani ukuthi badayisele like abo Shoprite, abo Boxer and everyone else. KwaZulu Natal Premier nemdube mfowethu ukhulume ngo-Operation Shanela trying to assist ukubulawa kakhulukazi kwasomatekisi ngiqhamuka KwaZulu Natal. Every day, every week, people are being killed, and eMinkapa the last one yenze ko-Othongathi last week la kushone khona abantu abawu5 kufunakala umuntu oyedwa, and I think ukuthi sidinga ukuqinisekisa and nokwenza sure ukuthi ukuphepha kwabantu, ngoba ekugcineni kosuku ugcina kungafi lo muntu losuke edingakala, ugcine kufa abantu nje bomphakathi abasuke beyidlulela. And also Premier KwaZulu Natal sinenkinga enkulu yama drugs ezikoleni. When ngivakashela isikole nesikole ufika ama drugs athathwe einganeni, and I think ukuthi i-Department of Education idinga ukuthi ibe nobudlelwane namaphoyisa ukuze sikwazi ukuqeda lama drugs ezikoleni. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Thank you. Honorable Chair of Order. Honorable Chair of Chairs of Gauteng, Honorable Nkosi Malobane.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Gauteng has come up with a township economic bill, and this is directed to Honorable Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. Are we going to see this bill becoming a national bill in order to make sure that all our townships in South Africa, as well as rural areas, do benefit from government spending, and in order to make sure that the 40% spending on women is also realized? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Miemang will be followed by Honorable Totovu.
Yesterday I had a challenge when I was standing. I could not be heard adequately. So if through your indulgence, Vice Chair.
With my permission, you can talk.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Chair, mine is just one question to my MEC from Northern Cape. with the latest reconfiguration of the provincial government, which put much more emphasis on the youth and disability and the e-government. I would want the MEC just to share with the House in terms of what does that reconfiguration entail, particularly its relevance to the young people of the Northern Cape. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mima. Honorable Totov.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll follow suit. Firstly, I want to say that in the last 2 days, starting from yesterday, I've been carefully listening to the inputs, which indeed are very empowering and helpful in terms of strengthening our role as Parliament to perform oversight, public participation, and lawmaking, and this is highly welcomed. And what I want to say, Honorable Chair, going forward, I think, given these inputs that we had, we need to embrace them, but not only embrace them, we need to chart a way forward in terms of making sure that its underpinnings are implemented, and those underpinnings are job creation, poverty alleviation, fighting crime, and in my respective view, I think we need to take all of these particular issues forward to ensure that we become a better country, and Parliament indelibly contributes in terms of making sure that those particular objectives are realized. Based on that, from my side, I'm very happy, and I really wish to thank the contributors in this particular respect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Totovo. The last, it's Honorable Mashango.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. With your permission, can I speak seated?
I'm considering the application, but you can be seated. No, you can be
Okay.
seated. I'm joking.
I'll understand.
You can be
Chair.
seated. I'm joking.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I will always take you serious, and because we come from where the sun rises. Together, you and I. Chair, I want to appreciate the presentations very much, and I'm really humbled and proud of what Gauteng is presenting in as far as fighting the crime. And I wish to plead, I'm happy that the Deputy President, His Excellency, is in the House. These attitudes, this political willing that we have always been accused of not having is showing, and I will appeal that this should be a national program, that we must all have this kind of attitude. I know the Honorable Premier, when is responsible for something, is his passion. You can just feel it, and you'll see it as well. So the other thing that also I think affects all of us, but I will talk from where I come from in Mpumalanga, more especially Tembisile. The issue of tender mafias, it's a nightmare, because this is something that is really destroying and trying to sabotage what the government is planning to do in terms of making the lives of the citizens better, to benefit. And welcome the plan that has been outlined by Honorable Minister Stella Ndabeni. Thank you so much. And I will not be doing justice, Honorable Chairperson, if I speak and take this opportunity and not speak about the Moloto Rail and not Moloto Road, because that's one thing that is going to cost us and people in Tembisile, JS Moroka, and Gauteng, and also part of Limpopo, are affected by this issue of Moloto rail. It's a matter of it's something that started in 2022. I mean, 2002. We cannot afford such. Something must be said because people are expecting this to be done, Chairperson. Having said that, Chairperson, I think it will be considered, and His Excellency President, he knows that people from my constituency, some of them, they've been there in the union buildings from Tembisile, Kwamhlang and Hele. We have tried to engage them at a constituency level, but they want to see action. Now there are political parties using that has been formed. So let's keep to our promises and live up to them. Thank you.
Okay, no, I thought it's the last one. I won't deprive, let's have Honorable Nsube as the last one.
No,
Honorable Nsube,
can I stand up?
you can sit so that.
Oh, no, thanks, House Chairperson. I arrived very late here because I was in a flight earlier on. Just few comments, Chair, that this planning, we are not just planning for ourselves, we are planning based on the conditions on the ground, Chair. I just want to align myself with what Honorable Premier of Gauteng have said, that we should maybe take it to the national space, that there should be a bill in the national space whereby we promote localization of products. The state budget or spending should benefit at least 90% of it should be benefit the people of this country, Chair. Secondly, to the Minister of Small Businesses, when we check the budget of the Free State small businesses, I think 80% of it is for salaries. So 20% you expect it to intervene on this. So it's I think something should be done about it, Chair. To KZN, we wish just to tell the Premier that we should open up the ocean economy to the youth of this country, because as things stand, I think they are deprived of it, Chair. With a Deputy President being here, Chair, I know that there are priorities for the sixth term, Chair. Maybe when the ANC takes power in the 7th administration, Deputy President, we wish that the state should declare state of national disaster on the unemployment. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Before starting from my left to Honorable MEC Masenoke on the other side, just for a parting shots, there's two things that I want to raise that when all of them are responding, they have to consider. Monday, Tuesday, we had a plan of all the chairs and in Parliament, National Assembly and NCOP. DP was correct that since we have started the 6th administration, we've passed 83 bills. Currently, as we're standing in the National Assembly, we've got 27. In the NCOP, we've got 18. But what we have agreed as chairpersons led by the chairperson of the NCOP and the speaker is that we have to prioritize the bills between now and the elections next year. So I heard some of the ministers talking about good bills that are coming. If they are not talking to the house that are planning, because they've got a direct impact on the people that we represent. So we want to prioritize. We don't want to frustrate your bills that we have. So out of the 45 that we have, there are those that can be referred to the 7th Parliament, but there are those that are urgent that we have to have them. So we have to seriously consider that there's a plan going on. So don't come here and tell us that you'll bring it in June. And once the Parliament is failing you, then you are failing our people. Your parting shots, there's no specific question. We are just your parting message.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, Honorable Chair of the session, The most important thing that we might have to urgently address, especially on the pronouncement of the president, is for Treasury maybe and through the engagements of honorable members of cabinet present here, that maybe Treasury must explore issuing a directive similarly to the directives they issued during COVID, when they compelled institutions or departments to procure with specific service providers. Because at this current moment, I think it was what was raised also by the Gender Equality Commission yesterday. So if we have to be more decisive about it, it has to come because Treasury has a certain regulatory authority in terms of issuing directives. But also amongst other things, it's the issue of universal access in terms of internet connectivity. We are not clear also as government in terms of reducing the internet cost. And I think Minister Abrahams at the time when she was in communication, she was driving that process, but we all know with the high cost of living and internet has become also electricity. So it's a matter that we must give it as priority ourselves as government. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. Honorable MEC, please.
Thank you very much, Chair of the session. I'm responding to the question that was asked on what the new reconfiguration of the provincial government entails for the province. One of the key responsibilities of the ministry that has been established in the office of the Premier is to ensure that it facilitates and coordinates all opportunities across all government departments, and that we establish relations with the private sector, because in order for us to fight these socio-economic challenges, we cannot attend to them alone as government. We need partners in attending to them. But one of the key focus is to ensure that we mainstream issues of women, youth, and persons with disabilities, and we ensure that there are set asides for them. For instance, in provincial government, there should be a set aside for opportunities that relate to young people, that relate to women and to persons living with disabilities. And looking at the fact that there's actually a lot of work that private sector is doing, but that work is not properly reported on or properly coordinated, establishing relations with them will ensure that we're able to coordinate the process across the province. One of the other things we're doing as a ministry is we are developing an initiative that will ensure that we assist SMMEs in the province that are women-led, youth-led, and disability-led, and ensure that we assist them in growing their business. But the support will not only be a financial support, but will be a mentorship support and a training support as well. We are also in the finalization of our integrated youth development strategy, which will look at addressing a number of aspects when it comes to these vulnerable groups. We also believe, and in this ministry, we're also responsible for communication, that we've not had an effective way of sharing opportunities that government and private sector has. So we will also look at implementing better, powerful tools of how we communicate these opportunities to these groups. Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. MEC Mokoni, thank you, Pabai. There's no specific question, just your parting shots, so that we are fair to all of you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Chairperson. You caught me off guard because I did not have questions. But what I want to say is that we think this session, if would always have it where we share experiences, you could see that what Gauteng, the problem that Gauteng has, if for instance they chase thugs in their province, they will come to us. Yes. So I'm saying that we need to share the experiences, because when you put fire, they then come to our province. But also that one of the critical issues that our Premier Matawata has raised is the issue of water and sanitation. Provinces, Deputy President, don't have a role to play when it comes to water. If you look at what the chairperson of the NCOP is talking about, Nandun Dam, that project was at 355 million. Now we're at 3.7 billion. And if you look at all these things, if provinces don't have a role, then we have a problem. I think it's high time that this matter has to be attended to, the issue of water. Because if we don't deal with the issue of water, it's a serious, that we don't have catalytic project for us to move forward. But I think with the current minister, we are seeing some bit of progress. He's coming to the provinces. But I think that's one thing that we need to deal with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MEC. Premier KZN.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, the first one for me is I get scared when you talk about bills because we've got this tendency of creating more hurdles and red tape for ourselves. That's my experience. We're so overregulated as a country and to our detriment as well of not being able to implement. That's the first one. The second one is the coordination of national departments and provinces. There's a lot of wastage and duplication as a result of lack of consultation, working together, aligning our programs. So I think the NCOP is the right body where an instruction or a recommendation could be that let's use the intergovernmental relations, which are the laws of this country that guides how do we operate. We call it parachuting. I know it's not a right word, but it does happen. Honorable Lutuli, yes, the Operation Chanela is helping to assist us with this matter. Unfortunately, I want to say it's not going to stop at the moment because there's still going to be a lot of revenges. As you say, last week it happened. We're expecting others to retaliate. So until I don't know what, but we're hoping that this project, the way it was conceptualized before, it does work with the taxi industry, but cooperating with the law enforcement agencies, private law enforcement agencies as well, so that we can pull our resources together. Yes, Honorable Lutsule, I agree. A lot of drugs in schools and weapons in schools. We do work with the school safety committees in doing school raids now and again with the police, and it does yield results. I guess it's something that we need to do quite often, but also it's about parenting and community also taking responsibility of assisting our children, because it's not going to be possible for police to go to each schools. We have more than 6,000 schools in KZN, and you can imagine how much work is that. So unless the community is involved, it won't be something that we could deal with. The matter of what do you call it, tender mafias, it is a serious problem, honorable members. I don't want to lie to you. It is sabotaging our economy and our economic growth. And there've been so many cases that have been, opened, but we still to see even a single one of those cases being prosecuted, even with all the evidence that have been given before. So it is something that if we really do not deal with, we're not going to win this war, because it started as a small thing. Now it's nationwide. And because they can see that nothing is happening. The maritime oceans economy, yes, honorable member, we are working with the oceans a team in doing the issues of oceans economy. Like there's a boat building factory that we are opening for young people. There's a maritime school that we are establishing. There's a maritime universities. All these institutions are aimed at enhancing our capacity of dealing with the oceans economy. Thanks, Chair.
You, Premier. Premier Gauteng.
Thanks, Chair. We truly appreciate the guidance and the counsel provided. We'll note that and work with relevant honorable members to attend to those issues. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity.
Thank you. Minister Dabina Brahms.
Thank you so much, House Chair. And I would like to thank the honorable members for the inputs they've made. Just one thing I would like to highlight, honorable members, cited from the National Development Plan, which states that by 2030, South Africa must create 11 million jobs. And out of the 11 million jobs that the NDP talks about, it says 80 to 90% of those should come from small businesses. Now, with the impact that we've seen on COVID, the loss of 2 million jobs, the National Planning Commission is revising those numbers, which means the numbers increase to 11 million jobs that must be created by small businesses. As we say that, as things stand right now, the 2.5 million SMMEs that we have are creating plus minus 8 million jobs. This Deputy President, in essence, means that we need to create more SMMEs, new SMMEs, not less than 4 million if we were to achieve this. And as I mentioned earlier, at the center of this is the coordination. Whether it's the coordination in terms of the plans that we develop, including the resources that we spend on the SMMEs. And this is why, Honorable Tuli, we saw it very important that we really work closer with the local government sphere. Hence, I said earlier, we are trying to find presence through the LED offices where we do not have presence. As things stand, we exist in most of the districts and not all, and the municipalities are at the center of that. Now, to drive that robust communication or awareness around our products, we are partnering with all the other DFIs around, the partners at local level, but I fully agree with you, have not done much, which is why we are in a process of reviewing, including our comms team, both from the department and the agencies, but we're calling upon the brand ambassadors, the entrepreneurs themselves, to share this knowledge. Of course, we have a digital footage or footprint in all the social media platforms or in website for those that are tech savvy, but for others, then we'll try to help in terms of increasing the awareness. But as I said, they can walk directly to the CEDA or CIFA offices or to the municipality LED unit, and they'll get information in relation to our products. Gauteng, great interventions that are targeting the development of small businesses, especially in townships. Unfortunately, I would love, Honorable House Chair, if we were to be given those powers as the department to be able to tell provinces what bills they must bring into place, that will make a difference. For now, my powers are still limited. But as I indicated, we are having min-max with all the provinces in order to say, how would we move forward and learn from other provinces? Gauteng is doing well, KZN is doing well, and Western Cape. And we have said we're going to take the three in contrast in terms of the regions that we see was different. You have the semi-urban, the semi-rural, the urban, and all of that. Therefore, it can't just be one size fits all, but we're trying to get the colleagues to interact and be able to take what will work for
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
We have submitted 1,000 locally produced products to National Treasury, and we are hopeful that we'll add more. But we want to encourage honorable members and everyone listening to us to encourage people to buy from small businesses, especially locally produced products. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Ramakgopa, Minister in the Presidency responsible for planning, monitoring, and evaluation.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of the session. I don't have much to say. The only thing that I can say is that we as the department, we are going to ensure that in the next cycle that of the MTSF, we are going to make sure that planning of each and everything that has been said here, from national, provincial to local government, is done according to the plans that have been put in place, so that we are able to monitor and evaluate if those things that have been said are being implemented and they are also according to plan, so that we don't find situation whereby the plans that are put in place are not adequately budgeted for. But the one thing that I would like to just leave to say here is that we always remember that our people are not going to just be excited by plans. They are going to be excited by things that change their lives. So if we just have plans and they are so beautiful and decorated, however, when we go on the ground, we don't see anything, we are not going to celebrate, and ourselves as well, we are not going to be able to say that you have performed. So to all the ministers, to the MECs, to the councillors, from next year onward, according to the DP, we are going to look for things that enhances quality of life. And we would like to see outcomes that just don't speak to things that we can celebrate on paper, but outcomes that if we go and do a monitoring that is physical, we would be able to see that life have changed. Because it doesn't help in closing that we when we are here, we speak about what we're doing. But when we go outside to meet with the citizens, they speak something else. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Mashatile.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. All I would like to say is that let's strengthen coordination. I think we've started on the right direction. And I think once we strengthen coordination, we'll be able to roll out the district development model even quicker. Because I indicated to my team in the office that we need to link out the role of the DDM to service delivery interventions. So that is not just a concept. We've agreed that we will visit all the provinces. Of course, the provinces are many, so we may not get to your province sooner than you expect. But as I speak to you now, I have a team that is already in the Free State, starting at Kopano, to look at some challenges there. From there, my journey will take me to Lusikisik in the Eastern Cape. And this road starts next month. We will be going to various provinces. So Mukoni will come to Limpopo. You mustn't worry. We will be going everywhere. The idea is that when we go to provinces, as the president has indicated, we would be coming with relevant ministers. We'll meet with the leadership in the provinces, not necessarily the premiers. The premiers may delegate other members, MECs, etc. And also the mayors or councillors in those areas, so that we work as a team. So in conclusion, Chairperson, we are saying, let's get on the road, let's go to the people, let's work with them. As the minister was saying, that we don't want plans that are nice plans in our offices. We want to go out to the people. And I invite all of you, let's hit the road. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One thing for sure I can confirm is that Tate Masondo led us as NCOP to adopt the program. When we come back on the 18th, the first week, the Deputy President will be coming to the NCOP to answer questions. So we'll have that ample time with the Deputy President once again on the 18th of April. Without much ado, let me invite the Deputy Chair. The issue of the House Chair will have a way of managing it outside this platform. Deputy Chair, quickly dealing with the summary.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Now, I really have some few notes in my hand, but I think what I should be saying is that the fact that we've been here and after listening to all the commissions and to the members of executive, we actually laid bare the weaknesses that is there, and particularly as was also emphasized by the DP just now, it is the issue of how do we coordinate our work. And I want to repeat, Honorable Minister Ramagopa, when we listen to the Planning Commission, particularly the chairpersons of the work streams, we realize that in actual fact, we don't have to run around. We've got all the information at one place, but the biggest issue is the powers of the NPC. So the fact that departments are not necessarily allowing them to advise them and they are not necessarily taking the advice. So I'm speaking to you because it will become your responsibility to make sure that what was envisaged initially with the NDP will become a reality, that we should use the information and all the programs that is at our disposal. Because yesterday, the chairperson of the workstream economy said that in South Africa, we have got about 13 to 14% of small businesses, whereas in the countries that are more or less the same, like Brazil and so on, 90% of the businesses is small business, which means we have all the information. We know what to do. We know also what the needs of the people are. But at what point do we make sure there is someone that see to it that it is implemented? We are playing our oversight role. But in the executive, they should not wait for this post facto evaluation. They should be proactive and be doing already what should be done. And that is the reason why we said, let us have this session, because it's part of our responsibility to make sure that we coordinate the three spheres at one level. As the NCOP, we've done it, but unfortunately, like we can never conclude, or we can never complete what we want to achieve. So us now, where we are is that the next session, we will then have targeted departments as well as local government to make sure that we then address the other issues that is outstanding, but also to make sure that those that are in oversight responsibility also participate and give guidance as to, because as a presiding officer, I'm not serving in a committee, but I've been long enough in the legislature to understand what is our responsibility. So what we are saying is that, for instance, DP, we know what is our responsibility, but we take resolutions and we don't get any kind of response or feedback from departments. As a leader of government business, we are putting it squarely on your table. And we spoke about the horizontal implementation of our decisions. That is what we spoke about. For instance, maybe SMME, small businesses here. For instance, there is a resolution or there is an announcement that the president made that 40% of government business should go to women businesses. How far is the implementation thereof? What kind of oversight should be done to make sure that it is being implemented? That is just an example that I am mentioning. So Vision 2030 should be the vision of South Africa. It should not be something that we are planning perpetually and we are not actually reaching where we want to be and what we want to achieve. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
A good round of applause on to Elham. Colleagues, let me invite Ntate Masondo, the chair of the NCOP, to come in this chair to do the concluding remarks so that you can see all of us. I think it will be in
Just
order.
know that after this, we must just go for a group photo and lunch is in the restaurant.
After Ntate Masondo will go straight at the stage in front of the NCOP where we'll have a group photo so that we can know who was here. It's part of the legacy report for those that do see what we have done. Ntate Masondo.
The administration. On some of the critical issues which came up during the session, Firstly, to say that a detailed crafted report will be made available. And this report will ensure that it emphasizes, amongst others, key issues that have been raised during this interaction and engagement. I also just want to remind members very briefly that, as members would recall, we've had an opportunity in November last year where we spoke, amongst others, on the question of jobs and related matters. Just to emphasize that present in this November interaction were members of the NCOP, provincial legislatures, members of provincial legislatures, as well as SALGA, where we spoke about township economy and industries. And some of the points that were raised was the need to resolve support, coordination, and legislative challenges. The need to protect small businesses from unfair actions of big companies. The need to deal with market accessibility and security challenges. The need to address the negative impact of bylaws and removal of red tape. And the whole question of the capacitation and provision of entrepreneurial skills, especially for young people. Just to emphasize, therefore, that the search for an identification of entrepreneurs will be intensified as we move into the future. So, Program Director, on behalf of the NCOP, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to all those who participated in this important session. I thank in particular the Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP for leading the organization of this activity, the Deputy President of the Republic, Honorable Paul Mashatile, for his leadership, the National Planning Commission, the Financial and Fiscal Commission, the Commission on Gender Equality, the Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, the Minister of Communication and Digital Technologies, premiers of provinces, Honorable Ngube, Honorable Panyaza de Sufi, the members of the provincial members of parliament and provincial legislatures, and the representative of SALGA for their great contribution. I thank all participants for their inputs and the officials for their support. Once again, I appreciate Program Director the opportunity to thank everybody for attending and for participating. The report of the session will provide the necessary detail, and as we move into the future, hopefully this information and data will be able to enable us to do the work that needs to be done in the remainder of the 6th electoral mandate period. Thank you very much.
So
I'm sure we can
members,
proceed
can
to
we
take the
just
pictures
exit there?
and then have lunch.